Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to my channel. For the guys who's new to my channel, I'm Coach Kareem. This is Red Pill Arabic channel. I do reprogram people for living. That's very interesting. And today we are having for our audience from Middle East that not a lot of people understand. Okay, do you got me? Do you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay. Okay. What are you gonna do?
Let me just see if it's me.
Okay.
1 second.
Sure. So today we are having Mr. Sulaiman Ahmad, Sheikh Sulaiman.
No, my audio is working. I think it's you this time.
It is me. From my side, it is working. Hold a minute.
My audio is working. I think it's you this time.
It is me. No, it is working from my side. From my side, it is working 100%. My mic is working 100%.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. I don't think it's my mic this time because I played something else and it's working. So I think
No,
it
no,
might
it
be from
is
your side. When you switched.
It is your headset.
Yeah. I think my headphones are working because I tried something else and it's working. So I think it's you.
Okay.
Can your listeners hear you?
Yes, they can hear me. Here is
So your listeners
Ahmed
can hear
saying
you?
I can hear both.
Oh, so people can hear you both. People can hear both of us, but I just can't hear you.
Okay, that will be a problem. Sorry for this technical issue, guys.
1 second.
Okay. So as you know, as you see today, guys, we are having a professional investigator, journalist, Mr. Sulaiman Ahmad, and we will talk about the Tate case. We will go deep down, diving into the Tate case, getting the latest update, and you can ask a lot of questions. Okay, hope the audio thing will be fixed soon. He got the new session set up yesterday. That's why he's having some technical issue.
I can't actually hear you. You know, if you want to, do you want to do it where you type the questions, or do you want to reset it or something? Because I know you've got listeners, so I don't know what you want to do. But I can't hear you. But my
Okay.
audio is working, but so I don't get it. And on StreamYard, it's the same. Game capture, audio, testing. Yep. Yeah, it's the StreamYard test is working as well.
Yeah, but
Yeah. On the StreamYard, it's working there, but I can't hear you.
Okay.
So I just went to settings, and I went to audio, and then
Okay.
where my speaker is, I press test. And it says
Okay. Do you hear me right now? No? You cannot hear me? Yeah.
I don't know if you could hear that, but you can see that StreamYard
Yeah,
says
yeah.
working.
I can hear it. Okay, let me get out and get back. Does that work?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Welcome. Welcome again, guys. Sorry for this technical issue, because our brother here have a new session look, with a lot of things, and StreamYard is acting weird a little bit. The software that we're using to stream live.
Yeah.
You might not know Sulaiman, by the way. Andrew Tate is famous among Arabic guys also in the Middle East. I don't know if you're following that.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Dubai. There was a significant amount of love and support for him. So yeah, I have noticed that there is a minority of I would say Arabian women who maybe don't like him, but I would say that's a small minority, but very vocal.
That's okay. Feminists don't like him anywhere, like
That's
from
right.
any
Yeah.
culture. Yeah.
I was surprised. I went to Dubai and people were very passionate about him. They wanted me to come to some of the schools because they were so excited. But yeah, so there is a lot of support for him.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So today, guys, we will break down the case and get the latest update. Alhamdulillah, Andrew Tate does not have cancer as they expected, right, Sulaiman?
Yeah. I mean, I can give you a view as a bit of an update based on. I'm going to do a more of a in-depth stream about it. But you're basically what happened was he his medical records were leaked from a hospital in Dubai. The Dubai hospital is a very respected, reputable
Yeah.
hospital, and what the what the diagnosis showed is that he had some kind of dark shadow near his lungs. When I received the report, I took it to some medical professionals who
Mm-hmm.
gave me basically what an interpretation of what that meant. And what they said is that this could be a possibility of lung cancer, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a very good possibility. And so there's significant concerns, and therefore it's urgent, imperative
Mm-hmm.
that he has another checkup, a biopsy specifically.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't aware of the second test that was done in Romania. So then after that, while he was in prison, because this happened before he was in prison, and then he
Mm-hmm.
goes to prison, and then after he's in prison, he then did get tested in Romania. That was a cytology test.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that demonstrated that the what they'd seen was actually benign. So if it was a tumor or whatever it may be, but it was benign. The only thing about that test is it is a cytology test, and in reality, what needs to happen is he needs to have a biopsy to ensure that everything is clear. So therefore, I still hold the same position in the sense of it is important that he has more tests done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have Dr. Ahmed here saying I'm radiology residence. The lesson was discovered 18 months ago, and it was beginning
Benign. So the thing
benign.
is,
Sorry.
but sorry, if Dr. Ahmed can continue explaining, because this result isn't from 18 months ago. It's from so the first one is from Dubai, which is in 2022 in December,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one is in Romania, which is in January, February time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But as I understand from X-ray, you cannot confirm that it is a cancer or not. You need the biopsy, right?
Yeah, that's why you need the biopsy. That's
Yeah.
imperative.
But in the other hand, he lost around 10 kilos, and that's a good indicator of cancer.
That's it. So basically, what happened was when that report came out, and you had basically the shadow, near his lungs and so on and so forth. Everybody saw the 8 pages,
Mm,
and then in other indicators where he's basically lost 10 kgs, he's looking a lot weaker. These are all indicators, isn't it? So we don't have a biopsy. So based on this, one can say, look, this is a concern. It could be
mm,
cancer, and if it is, he needs to urgently be checked. Hence why
yeah.
people posted what they posted. That's why I posted what I posted. When we received the second set of results, this calmed the concerns down to an extent but the
Hmm.
only thing is that, and I think Dr. Ahmed can confirm this, that basically a cytology report does sometimes give false negatives. And so therefore you need a proper thorough examination from a biopsy.
Hmm. Yeah. Appreciate that. Okay, let's start from the beginning. About the raid in March 2022. As uh, as we know, I'm following Andrew since long time. I know Andrew before anybody know him, like because he used to be a part of the Manosphere. He's a friend with Rollo and Richard Cooper, Myron Gaines, Abu American know him personally. These all are my friends.
Okay.
So it is a big like the Manosphere who's talking about men issue and about other stuff, self development stuff for men.
Yeah.
So he used to be a part of the manosphere since but nobody really know him. That was like in 2019, 18.
Right.
So nobody really know who's Andrew Tate is before the blow up in 2020 and 2021. So I'm following him since long time. And about the raid in March 2022, the false claim that that he's kidnapping a U.S. citizen. The U.S. embassy responded with the SWAT team from the Romanian authority. Go and search the home. There's no one there. They took the CCTV and look at the girl going out, taking the pizza, getting back and dancing. And she left. She went back home after the party. So there is no real evidences for this in March 2022. So they cut him loose, right?
That's right. Yeah. So basically, what happened was the woman from the United States had only been there for 5 or 6 days. During that period of time, the Tates weren't actually even in Romania for that entire period. So just think about
Mhm,
how short her interaction was with them.
mhm,
Despite that, she basically her mother, and possibly her boyfriend, but definitely her mother, phoned the U.S. embassy and caused the raid to happen. She wasn't living with the Tates at that point. She was living a kilometer away. Um, After the raid occurred, as you said, this looked at the evidence, they looked at the CCTV, and within a very short period of time, I think it was 24 to 48 hours, the Tates were let go.
mhm,
The two girls who complained, they basically once, because obviously the raid had happened, so they'd left. And then a
mhm.
few weeks later, they were in the French Riviera having a very luxurious holiday.
Yeah, I saw some pictures with the
Yeah.
Rolls Royce and the shopping, and so.
Yeah, yeah, and this begs the question, doesn't it? Like, if someone's able to finance such a holiday, and from their backgrounds, we know that they're not financially wealthy. It means
Mhm,
option A, they made the money whilst living with the Tates. Well, with the US woman, it can't be because she was only there for a few days. But the girl from the United Kingdom, that's possibly the
mhm.
case. In terms of the oh, it's a possibility that someone paid for him, and if someone did pay for it, who did?
Mm. Right, right. It's usual sugar baby like relationship with a lot of men. That's the source of their money. Like when I see a young like idiot attractive girl flying out from country to country, like hitting it up with Rolls Royce and yachts, like we know where she getting the money from. Come on, she did not make it. She's like she did not have stocks of Amazon or Tesla or something. No, there is sugar daddy who's paying for that. Like that's so obvious.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. So the next point, which is the CCTV, they have all the CCTV records in March, and they kept it right.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, this is the for me the mind blowing
This is
situation because
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So basically, initially, when the Tates were arrested in December,
Hmm.
the claim was that they were basically held against their will. They had no
Hmm.
freedom of movement. They had no ability to go anywhere they wanted. Obviously, they've changed the argument over time because they've realized the fallacy of that. So basically, as you said, there's been significant leak of CCTV footage. There was a first initial leak, which is what you're referring to, which is them going outside, getting the pizza, returning, so on and so forth. And then this week there's been another leak, and in that one they're showing the girls again going out, going on Uber, going
Hmm.
shopping, coming back with lots of bags of
Hmm.
luxurious items. It seems. So yeah, it's basically what you're seeing. If you don't want to close your eyes and your mind and you want to actually look at the truth, is you're seeing girls who basically went to a Playboy situation in the
Hmm.
sense of these guys were millionaires, they were
Hmm.
very rich, they got benefits of that lifestyle by they basically, like I said, the shopping and going out and so on and so forth. And then once the US woman came to Romania, uh, after a few days, she influenced the other girl, and then there was basically this entire drama. And the reason the US woman has done this is because, again, I'm not in privy to go into detail about this at this point, but this is not something that's new to her. She is that type of person.
Yeah, as I see, like some evidences was broke down by Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit. He says that she did like the sugar daddy situation and false accusation 4 times before in her record. So she used to do that.
That's not even the half of it. That's part of it. There's
Mm,
significant amount of information more that needs to come out. This, like you said, Myron Gaines said that. In terms of the numerical amount that he said, I would say I can't even say it's less or more because it could either be both because that's how much information we've basically are aware of.
mm.
Some of it
So
needs to
it's a
be
lifestyle for
authenticated.
her.
Some of it has been authenticated. Um, and then in addition to that, you've got a scenario where what was it again? Yeah, you had basically other things happen to her previous partners, and then there's a lot more information that is going to cause a huge amount of problems. I just looking at it as a person who isn't biased, this person is not credible. this person, someone cannot be credible because, let's say, they've lied in a different situation. Someone could be not credible because they've done something wrong in a situation. Someone could be not credible because, they've got a bad record. But when your credibility is shot about this specific situation, that is a huge problem.
And
that's
more
what
than
we
one
got.
time. Yeah. More than one time. That's a problem. Okay. Dr. Wissam here says it seems that they want him dead. You hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do apologize. My mic's, I think I needed charging. I think I messed it up. I didn't charge it.
Do you hear me?
I can't hear you,
Okay.
but it's my fault. My mic isn't working. Oh, wait a sec. Let me see if I can do it without the mic.
Okay. I guess you can hear me from the laptop.
From the laptop, yeah, I got it. Marvelous.
Okay, good. Ahmad here says it costs 10K to 20K per night in French Riviera. How did this so-called victims got their money from?
I think you just Ahmad, you basically have highlighted an important and vital question. How did they get their money? So you've only got 3 options. And this is not a conspiracy theory. We're just analyzing it. We're just analyzing it and saying, look, what are the possibilities? So possibility 1, they made a lot of money while working for the Tates, they made a lot of money, and so they can afford to pay, as you said, what is it, $20,000 a night? I mean,
10 to 20.
$10,000 to $20,000 a night. Look,
Yeah.
whenever I make this comparison, people try and ridicule it. But look at it. Look at the average person. They're unable to even think about these type of money. But you know what it is? When you hate someone so much and you want to say they're guilty, you ignore this. I'm not saying that makes it right. I'm trying to make you understand that these women are making a lot of money. That doesn't mean they're trafficked or not. But what it shows is that they were making a lot of money. They weren't slaves. They weren't basically getting manipulated. They were bagging
handcuffed in the basement.
Sorry?
It wasn't handcuffed in the basement.
Exactly. And then the second point is, option is what you mentioned. It is that they've basically caught onto another sugar daddy who's basically paying for their livelihood, which means, again, they're very good operators that they've done that in the space of a couple of weeks. Because if they left the Tates place in mid-April, and it's only 2 or 3 weeks later they're in the French Riviera, that means that, again, they managed to hook their claws into another guy. Or option number 3, which sounds like a conspiracy theory, but we're just looking at the possibilities. Option 3 is someone paid them off. They're the 3 options.
That makes sense.
So thanks for your question, Ahmed.
Definitely. Dr. Ahmed says here in his Dubai hospital medical report, it was said that he was lesion in his lungs, which was later confirmed to be benign after the MRI checkup.
Yeah, Der Achmed. I did explain this earlier. You might have missed it. I said that basically you're right. There was allegedly, like you said, the Dubai reports indicated that, and then the Romanian reports indicated that it was benign. And then I'm saying that the Romanian court was based on a cytological report. And so, in my opinion, I'm not saying he's got cancer, but I'm saying he needs further testing, and that's important, irrespective of whether he's in prison or not. He needs the medical care.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Okay, the next point is the American lawyer, Brother Sulaiman. As per what she says on PBD podcast, Patrick Bet David podcast, she says that she requested more than 3 times to personally meet Andrew Tate from the Romanian court, but they denied it 3 times. I can understand because she's not a Romanian lawyer. She can't represent him in the court, but even to not let her to see him, does that apply? Why?
Well, legally, strictly speaking, legally, it's not a problem in terms of from the Romanian case point of view. But holistically, it is a problem because she is representing them. She is basically doing a lot of the legal work. She's not able to stand in front of the court and represent them in front of the judge, but she is doing a lot of the legal work. So a good example of it is the United Kingdom. So in the United Kingdom, the legal system is actually, you have 2 types of lawyers in the United Kingdom. You have solicitors and you have barristers. The solicitors will build the case, do the paperwork, put the case file together, analyze the arguments, analyze what the way they're going to go about it, so on and so forth. And then once they've done that, they'll give a brief to the barrister, and then the barrister represents the person in the court. And generally speaking, the solicitor is not able to represent in higher courts. So it's almost similar. So she, in this context, I'm not saying this is what she is because people are not very smart when we give analogies, but in this context, you could basically say she's the solicitor, but she's not allowed to do the barrister work in Romania, similar to the UK system. But the solicitor should have access to the clients because they're able to speak to them. They're able to build the case. She's got a good experience. She'll know good argument she's going to make. So it's very important. And in addition to that, the prosecution have leaked conversations with Andrew Tate with other people, and and that is meant to be, especially if it's with the legal team, is meant to be privileged. So that's another reason why you'd have concern about doing things over the phone, and you'd want more physical interaction to ensure that doesn't happen. That you can give your client a fair and just counsel and advice, and the only way you can do that is by telling her exactly what he did and what he didn't do, and then she can then advise him accordingly. Because you can be innocent, but sometimes, let's be honest, like, even if you're innocent, sometimes you think, you know what, I've done this thing, will that make me look guilty? I know I'm innocent, but I did this little thing, and that may make me look guilty, and I need to tell my lawyer and say, look, I did that thing, I'm just letting you know, but really it was done in this context. They're not able to do that.
Yeah. Does that, like, where are they coming from to not let her meet them? Like, can they do that by the law, or it's just
by the law they can do it? Yeah, but where they're coming from or the reasoning behind
it is not usual, right?
It's not usual in the West, because in the West you should be able to see anyone who's representing you in some case. In the United Kingdom, it's completely abhorrent. Like, you definitely would be able to see. But why they're doing it, I believe it's because they don't have much evidence when it comes to the Tates, and so they're trying to frustrate the situation and make it harder.
Okay. The next point is the preventative arrest for 180 days. Like, from my understanding, the Romanian authority can put someone for 6 months behind the bars with zero evidences, and after that they can say, sorry, like, we was wrong, sorry for that, you can go.
Yeah, I mean, again, this isn't illegal from the Romanian point of view, but I do believe this is highly unethical and immoral. And again, it shows the nature of the people who are basically trying to argue this point. Because at the end of the day, before anything, we're humans first. And so we have to speak out for things of which violate humanity. Now, not human rights in terms of from the legalistic point of view, but look, anytime you have a scenario where you're going to illegally detain someone, not illegally, sorry, you're going to detain someone and take away their freedom, and it's not going to be based on evidence, is hugely problematic. And we know, and we disagree with this with the many countries that did this, including when United Kingdom did it with the Terrorism Act, and now they've reduced that to 14 days as far as I know, and the Patriot Act in the USA. These are hugely problematic because they're used as a device to attack the oppressed or oppress someone, and it's completely unacceptable. Now, coming back to the point of the Tates, yes, and just think about that. It's basically when you're putting someone in prison and then investigating, you're basically saying that the person's guilty until they can prove they're innocent, and that we can never have that system. In the West, they never used to have that system. And then from a monotheistic or even Islamic point of view, that's not something you do. You basically it's impossible. So basically, it's based on evidence, and it's an evidentiary nature, and it is that once you get the requisite evidence that you can charge someone.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example from the United States. The FBI conviction rate is 97%. Do you know why? And that's from a federal agent, because they built the case, the whole of the case, with the concrete evidences before they arrest someone. That's why 97% of the cases he will get convicted, because they built the case before they put him in jail.
I agree. It's the same in the United Kingdom. I mean, not in terms of the percentage, it's still high. It's above the 90s, but it's the CPS does the same thing. They build the entire case. They look at both the positive evidence for their case and they look at the negative evidence against the case. And then based on that, they build their case, and then they basically give it to the and then the prosecutor, the CPS decides, look, is the evidence strong enough or not? And if it's not, then they won't take it forward. And so that's another point you've indicated on. In this case, they're not included a number of the evidences that show that the Tates are innocent, including but not limited to the CCTV footage, as well as the entirety of the WhatsApp conversations, which are not out of context.
Yeah, yeah.
And that
For
breaches
the
certain Romanian penal codes, as well as it breaches some aspects of international law as well.
yeah, yeah. For the irony, Tate in one of the podcasts he says, do you think they will put you? They can't put you in jail when you're innocent. They will put you in jail, and then they will find why. He says that by words, like around 2 to 3 weeks before he gets arrested. They will put you in jail, then they will find why, and that's what they are doing,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't know that, but that's basically what they've done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they have around 5 possible reasons to arrest him. Human trafficking, which is the allegation, the rape allegation, money laundering. I start hearing some rumors about money laundering. You have a lot of money, Bitcoin, like cryptocurrency. It's not legal there. It's blah blah blah, and the dangerous person or organization, and the multi passport. The multi-passport
So
thing.
in terms of what you just mentioned,
Hmm.
the only thing they charge for is 2 accounts of rape, which is Andrew Tate. And in that one,
Hmm.
the allegation is the woman makes the allegation that when it comes to the first one, unfortunately, a bit awkward to say this in this stream, but it was a scenario where it was basically four people involved, so 3 women and Andrew Tate. So the other people are saying that it was consent, there was consent, but she's the only one who's saying
So it was
after she.
orgy.
That's right, yeah. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, that's what it said.
And
And
that's okay.
and then what happened was, yeah, and then she didn't make the claim initially. She made it after the fact. So
Hmm.
after the police had raided, she didn't tell him then, and then she made it after the fact, as far as I know. And then in terms of the second time, she just says, I don't even remember when it happened. And the other allegation is human trafficking. And as we said, there's just too much evidence for human trafficking. And this is what people don't understand. When it comes to human trafficking, you have to have control. Basically, it has to be a restriction of movement. Now, that can be both in a physical sense or a psychological sense, right? But both
Hmm.
aspects are completely eradicated by what we've even been leaked to us. And this is what people have failed to understand. Physically, we've seen it. The women were going out, back on Ubers whenever they wanted. They had free movement. Like you said, we've seen the videos. In terms of psychological, the woman continuously says, the Tates are not bothered what we do. They don't care if we leave. They don't care where we go. So again, that's psychological. They know psychologically the Tates mentally do not have any kind of consideration about if they leave or if they don't leave.
Hmm.
So that's just one example of why it breaks down. The second thing is like fraud, physical, in terms of like financial manipulation. So for example,
Money, money
money, yeah,
laundering.
financial. They've been not being paid. They've been in some form of slavery. The women were making a lot of money.
Hmm.
The American woman never even partook in this, so she's not even relevant to this. But I don't know
Hmm.
why the charge about her. But the other woman,
Hmm.
she was receiving 200% more than what Andrew Tate was receiving.
Hmm.
So this isn't what she was receiving, a smaller portion. She's receiving a much larger portion.
Hmm.
So again, it
What
doesn't
about
cover
the
that issue.
dangerous?
And passports, sorry, yeah.
What about the dangerous person or organization?
So that none of that's there. And then when it comes to the what is money laundering, again, that's not, that doesn't exist. So in
The
terms of
Bitcoin
danger,
stuff, the cryptocurrency stuff.
so in terms of the money laundering, no charges have been filed about that. So there
Hmm.
was a newspaper report about 6 weeks ago to 2 months ago, stating that they were looking into the money laundering issues,
Hmm.
but in terms of from the criminal aspect, there's been 2 hearings since then. So 2 normal
Hmm.
hearings and one appeal hearing, and that claim or allegation has not been filed by the prosecution. In terms of criminal organization, again, that's linked to the human trafficking, what you just mentioned, because criminal organization, what that essentially means is that when the human trafficking was occurring, it was occurring by a criminal enterprise. So it's, again, it just goes back to the whole human trafficking situation.
Hmm. Hmm. That makes sense. I have a good question here from Ahmad. Says, do you believe upcoming Romanian election could be a factor behind the weaponizing of the law against Tate brothers. Uh, I wrote like I read some stuff about that because this prosecutor, he's known as the, let's say, the Robin Hood of the poor people against the evil capitalist rich people. So he put rich people in jail, and he's playing like he's playing that role in his country, and getting cheers, a lot of cheers for doing that. So does that Romanian politics, like local politics, play a role in this?
Of course,
This
of course.
socialist utopia who put all rich people in jail and seize their assets and give it to the to the people?
Well, I mean, before this, he was going against criminals like the mafia and so on and so forth. So yeah, you could commend his work on that. In this regard, obviously, what I've seen in terms of this case, his work hasn't been up to standards in terms of everything that's been happening now. The leak is either coming from him or it's coming from someone in the judiciary, and that's not acceptable. So there's a few number of things that happen in that are not acceptable that we mentioned already. So that I think that's highly problematic in terms of it being linked to the election. Of course, all of these things are possible. I'm not saying that that's what happened, and I think more investigation needs to be done in that regard.
Hmm. Allegedly, we are just speculating.
Yeah, that's what. Well, that's what I said. More research needs to be done. It is speculation in terms of that. We don't know.
Yeah. Okay, regarding the preventative arrest for 180 days, is Romania, as I understand, is a part of the European Union, and it applies by the United Nations and the European Union laws. So, is there anything in in the EU laws or the human rights laws and agreements that Romania signed in can prevent someone to be in jail for 6 months with no evidence?
No, there's nothing in international law that prevents that. There's other aspects that you look at which possibly could be contravening international law. Specifically, I mentioned the issue of not allowing evidence into the case would be one example, but that specifically isn't. That's why I said it's a moral and ethical issue from a humanistic point of view.
What about what about the United Nations agreements of human rights that Romania is part of it?
So I mean, there is arguments about the fact that there's contravention of international law. For example, we mentioned it. I mean, they did give him medical care, so that's totally acceptable. But if they hadn't, that would have been an example of a contravention of human rights law. And if they don't give him subsequent help, then that could be. There's other possible violations. For example, the fact that if according to his Facebook post, I'm sorry, his Twitter post, that he's not got access to his family, he's not able to see visitors, he's not able to he's in solitary confinement. If all these things are true, then it could contravene. In terms of what I believe does contravene is what I mentioned in terms of not allowing negative evidence into the case. In terms of what you said, that doesn't actually contravene. That's just a moral ethical issue from a humanitarian issue. We have the same kind of laws in a number of countries, including but not limited to the United States and the United Kingdom.
Yeah, even because our countries in the Middle East, they sign and agree on all of the agreements, human rights agreements from the United Nations. And in my country, you cannot detain anyone more than 14 days without evidence. Like you can't put him in jail for 6 months. Like that's beyond belief.
Yeah, it's
Nobody can
completely
do that.
unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. It just doesn't contravene international laws. Like I said, I totally agree with you. It's totally unacceptable. In the United Kingdom, they've reduced that down to 14 days now, and the
Mhm.
Patriot Act, obviously. And then you got people in Guantanamo Bay who are in there for much more longer, which is highly problematic. But generally speaking, yeah, it's unacceptable. But because a lot of countries have these kind of things in place, but generally speaking, a lot of them have them for terrorism and these type of things. But yes, it's not. It's morally wrong.
But he says in the social media that he have multi-passport.
So again, this is another problem what people have got, where they apply what they see on social media onto what this case is. Now, we don't know how many passports they've got because they've not looked into this. And this is problematic because in the earlier hearings, the judge said that he saw an online recording and he based his judgment on that, which kind of shows the backward nature of doing things, because if this was the first world, what they'd do is ring other embassies, find out the veracity of these passports, and find out if they actually have passports from these countries. That's basically the way you do it. So the fact that they didn't do this just shows the backward nature of the way they're doing things.
Yeah.
But
Now
there's not.
judges
But
listening to social media.
In the last court hearing, from what I read, I just read this just today, a few days ago. They seem to indicate that even them not being a flight risk isn't a problem for them anymore. The only reason they're getting detained now is because of the impact that they can have on society. So they don't want them to speak to the
Okay.
public.
So they're afraid from the next speech from Tate.
Yeah, because he's a very inspirational figure.
Articulate.
He's very articulate for sure. He's very
Yeah.
eloquent. His words penetrate society significantly. So someone like that who can talk about the case in a very informative manner, of course they've got concerns.
Yeah. 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 And they should. I believe the next Tate speech gonna have like over than 10 million viewer
Yeah,
at
possibly.
least.
Yeah.
Please. Okay, so the next point, which is a very relevant point, in the most Christian country in the West, which is Romania, with over than 98% of the population are Christians, is converting to Islam in this country play a role? And we have to take under consideration that he used to pay usually charity for the church with over than $30,000 monthly. So is him holding the Quran, because I heard some politicians speaking about that. Now he's holding the Quran. Now he's a Muslim. So does that play any role on the amount of pressure that they are getting?
I believe so. And I think people who discard this possibility is people who consciously are not aware of, subconsciously or consciously disregard the pain and suffering that many people from minorities suffer. And the irony is that people who are from the left, who claim to be bastions of these ideals, basically disregard these ideals when they want to win an argument, or in this case, because they disliked it. And that's why I said never trust liberals, because liberals are not your friends. They pretend to be your friends, but they're basically wolves in sheep clothing. This is a perfect example of that, to basically deny there's any form of xenophobia against Muslims, that there's any form of racism occurring in the world, is completely ridiculous. Now, coming back to the Tates, yes, they are basically black men, right? And they are Muslims now as well.
Yeah,
So
half black man.
well, I don't like this idea of calling it half, because you know what it is? Like, where do you draw the line? So I had a debate with a number of people about this.
It's usually like his father and his mother. His
No,
mother is white, his father is black.
no,
That's why they say half.
yeah, but I think that's unacceptable. And I'll explain why. Because when you go down that road of percentages, where do you draw the line? At what percentage is someone black?
That's an interesting question. Yeah.
So nobody's 100%.
You're
So
not
no
black enough, as Twitter say. You're not black enough. You're not so
Well,
dark.
well, they say you're not black enough if you don't agree with their ideals. If you disagree with their ideals, then they'll basically excommunicate you from their religion or their identity. So when you go into this percentage game, you're going to fail. And that's why when I've had debates with people about this, they just completely fail. They can't answer the question. So what percentage? They can't answer the question, because soon as you start playing the percentage game, you're going to lose, because ain't nobody 100%. So you're basically saying there's none. And so when you're going to say 90%, nobody's 90%. There's not many people are 90%. So that's why the percentage game doesn't work. So that's why I say what I said, that basically, yeah, he is black. And he is a Muslim now as well. So double the issue. And consciously or subconsciously, this will be a factor. And for people to deny this is to deny that there's existence of for example, institutional racism, because institutional racism occurs both consciously and subconsciously. Now, I'm not saying that's the sole reason, and I'm not saying that's the only reason. And this is the problem with people. They're binary. They don't understand that there could be multi-dimensional reasons for it. But psychologically, I do think that it would have been a significant factor in Romania to watch this guy bagging money, engaging with their women, and he's a black Muslim.
That's very interesting point. That's very interesting point. Says Ahmed here says, is Romania Islamophobic like Sweden? Hence, could be another factors against brothers. It might
So
be
Ahmed, you've asked
from
a
my
very good
point of view.
question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ahmed, you've asked a very good question. And to be honest, I was gonna go down this road in the sense of I was gonna I did write a thread about this in detail,
Mhm.
and I decided to against publishing it. And the reason for it was this: that I had a lot of people from Romania contacting me supporting the Tates, and I just
Mm,
thought, you know what, just for the sake of so many people in Romania supporting him, I'll
mm,
leave it. But it doesn't mean that those things aren't a factor. They will be a factor. And we do know that basically cultural bias through history does play a part. We know Romania's history with Islam. I mean, who's
mm,
one of the most famous in Romania? For example, one of the most famous characters was Vlad the Impaler. Do you know who used to
mm,
impale?
no.
Muslims.
Oh, really?
So my point is this: when they have this kind of like a cultural identity,
Mm,
it will be a factor. Now, I'm not saying it's a factor in Tate's case. That's something that we need to make
mm,
to demonstrate causation, or even a correlation in this fact, because it's probably be very difficult to demonstrate causation. So that's something that I say. Let's see how they act for the next few months, and then we can make a determination on that.
mm. Yeah, to be honest and to publish all views, Dr. Ahmed here says, I studied in Bucharest. Romania isn't Islamophobic, just pure corruption. The highest people in ranks really abuse their power and more.
So Dr. Ahmed, of course, you make a fair point. Like I said, there's a lot of people from Romania who have been engaging with me, who help me as well quite a bit. When there's some
Mm,
Romanian documents, there's people who are basically straight away helping me translating them and so on and so forth. So I agree with you. When I make a point, it isn't about the entirety. Like, for example, let me give you an example of the United Kingdom. United Kingdom is not an Islamophobic country. United
mhm,
Kingdom is a very lovely country to live in, a
mm,
very accepting country, generally speaking. But
mm,
then we have racist policies.
mm,
So, for example, we have a scenario where Ukrainians who are white are let in carte blanche,
mhm,
and then people of dark color are sent to Rwanda.
mm,
So that doesn't mean that people are racist, but we do have certain policies that are basically do demonstrate some form of racism. So
mm,
separate to that now, if the policymakers and those in power have these kind of ideologies, because those, let's be clear, it's the elite who are in power, isn't it? There isn't the
mm.
working class people who are generally in power. It's very rare.
Yeah,
And if they're
yeah.
in power, they're not going to be in the most powerful situations. And then when it comes to education, those who are in the judiciary are going to be people from the elite families. And from what I know, Romania, that happens a lot more. Not just Romania, but a lot of countries anyway. But I'm just giving you the example.
Mhm,
So taking those into consideration, the populace doesn't give an example of what the way society is, but societal rules, the way they act, the way they deal with people. That's what it is. You know, the good way of finding out racism is of people, because we're on this issue. It's funny enough, again, because you said that you're in the manosphere. This is probably
mhm.
something that your people should need to consider. A good way of doing it isn't basically. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this on your show. So if I start going too much
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it,
go
please
ahead.
stop me. But basically, a way of checking, and this is my position, right? The way of checking if somebody is racist or a people are racist is how they act with other races. What I mean by this is this:
Yeah,
men, they will have relations with anyone. They
yeah,
don't care about the race.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have friends like all over the world.
yeah. No, not friends. I'm talking about relations, sexual relations.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Men will do it with anyone, right? They don't
Mm,
care about
yeah,
the race. Yeah,
yeah.
because
Hot,
it's
available, done.
exactly. So they don't care about race. So you cannot find out if someone's racism based on a man's preference in terms of that aspect. You know, in terms of
Yeah.
sexual sex. But a very good indicator is is women's preferences.
Mm,
So women, because they choose who to have relations with and who they're going to engage with.
mm,
The race that women choose to have relations with demonstrates from a holistic point of view whether that race has issues of race with another race. So for example, let's say black women, as an example, decided that you see the data and they're never marrying, for example, Asian
mm.
men.
Yeah.
That means they're racist to Asia. That's a good indicator to say that they actually have some kind of racial tendencies against Asians. If, for example, white women never marry black men, that's an indicator to say they actually have some racial issues with black men. So a very good indicator of societal racism, an indicator, in case people try and take me out of context, and this is my own position. This is something I've come to on my own conclusion based on looking at societal trends and me, my friends, is this. So now apply that and see what happens.
Yeah, and there is a very thin line between preferences and racism. I can say I prefer Latina, okay, but if I says I will never ever in my life date a white woman, no, that's pure racist. I can prefer something over something. Like
Preference is no
I
issue.
prefer, yeah,
But
I
let's say you
prefer
got a
healthy
scenario where
food over
basically
burger.
no, but
Yeah.
imagine you got a scenario where, for example, not the vast majority, or if not nearly all, so let's say, because basically people generally marry within their own race anyway. So let's
Yeah.
take that out, right? People marry within
Yeah.
their own race. Let's take that out.
Yeah.
But people who don't marry within their own race, right?
Mm.
Which race are they marrying to, and which race are they not marrying? Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the indicator.
Okay. So if it's based only on race, I totally agree with you. Okay, the next point is let people, like the general public, understand something, because I heard like the bisexual guy, which is Destiny. I don't know if you know all the information about him. He's bisexual. He sucked dicks from time to time, and he let his woman to sleep with other men, and he's okay with it. And he's liberal, and he's atheist, and now he have now recently, like yesterday, I guess you saw it in Twitter, he have opinions about the Islamic marriage. You're not a real man. Like, you're cock. You suck dicks. You let your woman. You're not territorial. Even like biological male, human species male are territorial. Like, they protect their woman. Like he's okay for his woman to be banged by like 7 guys and coming back to him, and he's totally okay. And now he have opinions about the Islamic marriage. This cock Destiny with the blue hair is used to use a lot of what Andrew Tate says on the social media as a concrete evidences against him. So I want you to explain to the people: is talking shit on social media will be considered an evidences in the court? If I says I'm the cause, like I did the global warming, I'm the reason of the global warming, can they put me in jail because of the global warming?
So to answer your question, in terms of from a legal point of view, no, anything you say online won't have an impact from a legal point of view unless you carried out that said act. For example, let's say I say on social media, I've killed Tom, but then Tom's alive. I won't go to prison for killing Tom because he's alive. But let's say I said I've killed Tom, but Tom's dead. Then that could be me implicating myself for that specific act. So social media can have an impact on that. In terms of Destiny himself, let's be clear. So I've debated Destiny, and he was very easy. Yeah, he's very easy to debate because his style is that he speaks fast, but I speak faster. The second point is he basically relies on people who are not very smart. So what he'll do is try
People
and
ignorance,
he cotton onto one point. So as long as you're aware of that, you can easily finish him off. He's not that good. In terms of his points, just to demonstrate the fallacy of his points and to demonstrate the fallacy of what he's saying. So first of all, based on his own methodology that he's applied to Tate, he is a xenophobe against Muslims, right? But separate to that, if you look at it, it shows the fraudulent behavior and hypocrisy of this person, because he went on a podcast and he vehemently spoke out against anti-Semitism, right? He was, speaking out against Kanye and the fact that he was being he believed that he was being anti-Semitic, and he was talking about how that's unacceptable. And yet he's done the exact same thing, much worse. He's done much worse than what Kanye did, because Kanye said, I'm going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish community. Yeah. he has basically insulted and ridiculed somebody who people hold dear, which is the Prophet, peace be upon him, online.
Mm.
So what he's done is much worse. And
Yeah.
yet, and so it shows the fraudulent nature, because basically what he's saying is, guess what? You've got basically a community of 2 billion people. And with Muslims, yes, I accept that some of them are very emotional, right?
Mm.
They're not able to express themselves in the most best and eloquent manner. So
Yeah.
what, and a lot of them are from working class backgrounds. Not every, if you look at the, if you were to do like a study on the entire populace of Muslims in terms of income, it would be very low, right?
Yeah.
So you're then insulting them people, those people who are weak educationally, weak
Hmm.
generally speaking from a financial point of view, and don't,
Hmm.
and why I'm saying financial is because they don't have societal impact as everybody else does.
Hmm.
And so you're basically attacking and bullying them essentially, and you know you're going to get away with it, and that's why you're doing it. Whereas you are defending people from the Jewish community because you know that you ain't going to get away with attacking them, right?
Yeah.
And so that shows the hypocrisy and fraudulent nature of it. If Destiny was a man of honor, which he's not, what he would say is both are unacceptable. Don't insult the Muslim community and don't insult the
Mm.
Jewish community, and I would respect him. Or he would say both are fair game. We can insult both of them, and I am going to insult both of them.
Yes.
But what he did was he tried to get out with saying, "Oh well, our Jewish community don't attack me, so and I don't want to talk about Jewish circumcision." Completely ridiculous, because when it comes to Jewish thought, Christian thought, Islamic thought, on Islamic law and legalistic ideas and historical ideas, they're virtually the same. We all
Mm.
three of them have very similar views and ideas. So anything you can attack
Yeah.
Muslims on, I can tell you right now, you can probably attack. Well, I know you can attack the Jewish community and the Christian community on
Yeah.
that, but much in a much worse situation. So he
Mm.
has been hypocritical and fraudulent. And the reason he can never ever have this conversation with me is because he knows I will destroy him. Because he is very easy to destroy because he doesn't have, he has ignorance. He hasn't studied the
You
topic.
act on emotion.
He's a very emotional person and without
Mm.
knowledge and basis. He even in that debate with Sneeko about the Jewish community, he said to Sneeko, "Look, research the topic." This guy has not researched this topic that he's even talking about in a good or eloquent manner. So yeah, he's just an ignorant individual who lacks knowledge, and he relies on the fact of basically thinking that he's a good debater by arguing weak points against people who basically can't come up against
Speaking
him.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking fast, but he can't speak fast against me. That's this problem, isn't it? And so
Yeah.
yeah, he's just and he's just he hasn't got a strong basis behind his argument. Now, based on what I said, send it to him, ask him for a response. I guarantee you he won't be able to respond because he is somebody who relies on ignorance. He has fans who are not very smart, and he relies on their lack of intelligence to be able to continue going what he's doing.
Yeah. Do you believe Destiny is sponsored both financially, politically, and legally, similar to Greta Thunberg, because he is a useful pawn of to the Matrix?
You know what it is? I
I
don't like
believe
to go
we
down
have a
this
lot of
road of, you know,
supporters. Hmm.
yeah, I don't like to go down this road and basically make these kind of insinuations that somebody is politically financed or socially financed or whatever it may be. But in terms of him, if you want to call it the Matrix, that's fine. You can call it that. You can call it, for example, this kind of like deep state, mainstream media ideology. Of course, he's basically, he knows that's the best way to become famous. That's the best way of doing well. That's the best way of getting a following. If I wanted to, it's not, it's very easy. If I want a following, and I want to do well, it's very easy how to do it. You either breed leftist ideas and you do really well, or you breed very right ideas and you do very, very well. But you'll see now in this conversation we've had, I've explained ideas that neither left nor right. So you're not going to get as huge following because that's not what we're about. We're about basically speaking the truth and speaking facts. That's something someone Destiny cannot fathom. And from what I know about Destiny, allegedly he was actually on the right and then he moved to the left, which
Hmm.
people say is because of, again, the reasons I said now. Now I don't know about that because people can't change their views, people can't change their positions. That's completely respectable and fine to do so. But my point is this: it is like your questioner said, it is conductive to basically follow one train of thought.
Yeah. Usually, people with lower testosterone tend to go to the left. We have two studies like proving that. By the way.
That's not surprising because when it comes
Yeah.
to those ideas, um, essentially what you're doing is giving up your responsibility as a man. And responsibility as a man is the most important thing. Once you're basically giving your responsibility to somebody else,
Mm.
you're then accepting that basically I haven't got features that appropriate me as a man. So yeah, and if you look at a lot of the ideas when it comes to the left, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Mm.
that's in terms of, for example, testosterone, but in terms of like intellect and thought, like it doesn't matter to me what side they're on. If you're basic,
Yeah.
if you can give me a person and say, guess what, he's on the left, he's on the right, and I know your views about everything, like what,
Mm.
like what worth are you? Like you're just a faceless person. Like give me
Yeah.
something that you could actually, gives me some kind of intellectual thought, then I respect you.
Yeah. Sure. 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 Getting back to the Tate, what about seizing 20 plus supercar and 4 million cash, $4 million of cash? And they contacted the Dubai government. I'm well connected to in UAE. Like I had some calls. They told me they
Are you
asked
from the
that.
UAE?
No, no, no. I lived there
Okay.
for 6 years. I
Okay.
got back to Jordan 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I have a lot of connection there, like real good connection. So they told me that the Romanian embassy contacted the Dubai government to seize the Bugatti, the $4.2 million car. And they told them just like, go and fuck yourself. No, we do not give, we will never give you this car. So they are seizing more than 20 car and $4 million of cash, and they're following his asset internationally, and that is like mind blowing for me. Why? I'll tell you why. If I did a crime, if I did a crime in any country, like what is the standard procedures? They will they will bring some forensic evidence, forensic experts, and they will speculate the car. They will test the car. They will take fingerprints. They will take samples to test, and they will leave the car and go to their labs. That's like they can do that by half an hour, by 1 hour working of a small team from forensic experts and doctors. But to seize 20 20 more than 20 supercar and to ask for another car from another country and to seize $4 million of cash for months, why are they doing that? Like give me a logical explanation, please.
I mean, the argument is that basically the proceeds of crime. But the problem is with this, it's completely disproportionate. Disproportionate in two regards.
Mhm,
Firstly, it's disproportionate because the civil claims made by the girls, because they've made civil claims to get money, is
mhm,
£100,000 each, which totals £200,000. So the total amount of money the total amount of money as well as assets, their value are in the millions,
mhm,
3.5 to 5 million. So
mhm,
it's completely disproportionate. But in
mhm,
addition to that, um, even if it's proceeds of crime, if you look at what they've been charged for, which is only for a year,
mhm,
webcam. Well, it's not even webcam. It's a TikTok and
mhm.
OnlyFans for allegedly 1 to 4 women. You're not going to make £5 million. So again, completely disproportionate.
Mhm.
And so again, another example of what they're doing, which is unacceptable.
So they can't say that we need the 20 car for like 6 months to examine them, right?
I mean,
That
what would
doesn't
they
make sense.
examine? What would they examine? Like, what would they get from that? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they can examine car. Like I saw that by my eyes. Like I have some people work in criminology, like with the police and the federal departments. Like they can do that in half an hour,
Yeah.
30
Oh, I get what
minutes.
you mean. No, yeah. Sorry,
Done.
sorry. So you're saying that if they were to take the cars, even if it was for that reason, they should give it back by now. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Why are you holding 20 plus car and you're like you're contacting other countries on the other side of the walls to get the Bugatti? Like what
Yeah.
that does not make sense. Okay, the next point is here's the victims. The victims will say we are not victims, and the prosecutor will say no, you are victims, but you don't know it. So can you explain like this nonsense?
It is nonsense because it's completely ridiculous. What's happened is you've got the woman from the United Kingdom and the United
Mm,
States. And what they did was they went to a psychologist, and then they told the psychologist that, guess what? The other women are brainwashed, right? And then what the
Mm,
psychologist did was said, guess what? We believe you. And we have now made a decision that those other women are brainwashed. And we're not going to speak to those women. We're not going to psychoanalyze those women. And we're not going to make a medical determination based on speaking to those women to determine if they are actually brainwashed or if it's just that something you're imposing on them. And despite that, they've made the judgment on those women. In
mm,
addition to that, those women are saying, we're not victims.
mhm,
We love the Tates. They're our family. And we have huge
mm,
amount of affection for them and we want them out. In
mm,
addition to that, one of the women I've actually interviewed, and that
mhm,
woman was very extrovert, right? Was very enthusiastic, had
mhm,
strong body mind, a strong thought in terms of mind. So she was very strong in
mhm,
terms of her mind and her physicality, right?
mhm,
So she is not somebody who demonstrated any type of behavior that
mhm,
which would even indicate that. So I find that highly illogical to make that statement. And I think if an actual reputable psychiatrist was to interview her, they would come to the same conclusion. And as somebody who's not basically an extrovert naturally, you can
mhm,
you could tell when people are, and she was extremely extrovert.
mm. So she's not brainwashed.
I mean, I can't make that determination from a psychologist point of view. I can just make it
Yeah.
from an anecdotal point of view as a human being. And so,
Yeah.
from that point of view, she clearly doesn't demonstrate that behavior. She
Mm.
herself is saying, I'm not brainwashed. But I'm saying the determination that was made on her being that is totally unacceptable.
By illegal or non-confirmed,
She wasn't
not
court
authorized
appointed.
psychologist.
She wasn't court appointed. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay. Must be Amber Heard psychologist. Yeah, it might be.
Highly possible because Amber Heard psychologist did permeate an aura of man hatred, and so I would not find that hard to believe that this psychologist would was permeating the same type of behavior. But again, we're just giving our own opinion on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Destiny destroyed. Man, like say what you want about me. I don't trust men who suck dicks. I don't trust men who let his woman getting banged by other dudes. I cannot.
So
I
look,
cannot. It's against male nature as a human male nature. It's
no, that's
against
fine.
us. Yeah.
Look, so for me, I respect all communities and cultures, irrespective of where they come from. What you need to do is show the same level of respect back. So when it comes
Mhm,
to people from even from the LGBTQ community, I'll give them a huge amount of respect. All I ask is that basically they give me the same respect back. And in that sense, what I mean is
mhm,
just as I won't impose my values on you, you don't need to impose your values on me and force me to believe what you want to believe. And similarly, I won't do the same. We can have an
mhm,
educated conversation as adults, of course. And then more than that, I think things are a lot more deeper because I think within the LGBTQ community, I do believe that when it comes to the gay community and when it comes to people who are trans women, they are abused a lot more than the rest of the communities within the LGBTQ, and they lump them together to make everybody feel sorry for them. So I do think there is a more deeper issues when it comes to that regard. And so I wouldn't, when it comes to those communities, because I know they do get a lot of hatred, um, I'll speak out and say, look, in that regard, it's not acceptable.
yeah. For me, I don't trust such men. Like nobody can make me trust him. Like against my will, I can't trust him.
No, but you mean not in terms of gay men, because you mean like somebody who claims to be
He's not
bisexual.
gay. He's
So
bisexual.
exactly. So you mean it from that regard, and basically what you're saying is there's actually there's a lot of studies to demonstrate your point that when it comes to bisexual men, is it really something that is prevalent, or is it something that's been societally impacted? And so if you're
I
societally impacted, then
studied I studied biology very well. I give lectures in universities about biological differences, by the way.
yeah, yeah.
So by the human species, males are hardwired from biological point of view to be territorial. He defend his land, his females, and his sons. Any human male that who do not do that, he's going against his nature. I
I
don't
agree.
trust him.
I
I
agree.
do
I
not.
agree.
Like if I
Oh,
saw
sorry, I
any
agree
man
in terms
like
of that's the nature of a
sitting,
man. But then you know
yeah.
what happens is I agree with you. But what happens is it's not because when you say you don't trust, but the problem is this. I guess what I know what you're saying because what you're saying is
Mm,
somebody like that, a man, if he can be influenced by society to that regard, then
mm,
he smart enough and can you trust his mind enough to then value what he's got to say? So I get your point. There is basis
yeah.
behind what you're saying, but the other side to that is most people are dumb and most people are controlled.
Okay. Uh, the next point is the U.S. Embassy and the UK Embassy. As per Tate's American lawyer, like on PBD podcast, he asked her, "Did you contact the U.S. Embassy to check with them if they can provide any support, like for the 30 day after 30 day after 30 day of detention with zero evidences?" She says that she contacted the U.S. Embassy, asked them for help, and they refuse to provide any help. She said, like, just follow the Romanian law, like we're not intervening in this case. And that's not usual for the US Embassy. I saw such cases in multi countries. And when there is a US citizen held against his will and he did not do something wrong, like there is no conviction of him of a crime, the US Embassy will send the lawyers and the diplomats start making their connections and calling the other parties of in this country to set them free if there is no conviction. So in this specific case, they are letting the Romanian authorities holding him for possibly 6 months, and they are not intervening at all. Like, isn't that a little bit strange?
I
Especially
mean,
for a
yeah,
billionaire. He's not a regular like Mr. Joe Schmo.
yeah, I agree with what you said. It's completely unacceptable. The U.S. embassy, UK embassy, should be
Mhm,
trying to assist, and it's not something that we're saying that is out of order or unprecedented. Just very recently, there was a WNBA player from the LGBTQ community because the left care a lot about people from specific communities,
mhm,
and one of the communities that they care a lot about is the lesbian community, even though they
mhm,
make up a very small portion of the LGBTQ.
mhm,
So she was somebody who was either lesbian or bisexual. I can't remember what, but basically she's a woman,
mhm,
and the liberal left care a lot about her. Who was a WNBA player who went to Russia. She committed a crime
mhm,
where she had illegal marijuana. Now, the
mhm.
problem is in Western society, marijuana is deemed acceptable, so they can't wrap their heads around a scenario where it would be deemed illegal. But
Yeah,
in Russia, as well as in the Arab world, these
yeah,
narcotics are illegal and you do get a very harsh and thorough sentence.
yeah.
She went to Russia and had this illegal substance and she was sentenced to prison as
Mhm,
per Russian law.
mhm,
The Americans intervened.
mhm,
And despite there being another man from the US military who had been held in Russia, they ignored him and they
mhm,
brought this woman back. And they brought her back, even though she is a criminal, for
mhm.
whom a Russian arms dealer, somebody who can
Yeah, I
cause a
saw
lot
that.
of havoc in the
I saw
world.
the exchange in the airport. Yeah.
Exactly. So just
Mm,
think about that. So they made that move for that woman. And now compare that to the Tates who have not been charged and not
mhm,
criminal. That woman is a criminal according to Russian law, but they've not been charged. They've not been prosecuted. They've just been
mhm,
arrested
mhm,
while they gather the evidence. If that's
mhm.
not an example of biases, of hatred for Tate or hatred for what he's about, his ideals or what he represents, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, yeah. That's very mind-boggling, like for me. The US embassy is very powerful in other countries. It's very, very, very powerful. So if you are a US
We
citizen,
know, we know, we know the
and
U.S. embassy has significant influence in Eastern Europe. For example, they
yeah,
they basically have They're clause in the judiciary in many Eastern European countries, such as Albania. So we know this.
Yeah, yeah. It's mind-boggling for me that they did not intervene at all, especially for such an influencer and billionaire. He's nearly billionaire, so nobody cares. Like, cause you know why? They're full of shit. Let me say that. They're full of shit. Like they pretend to support the human rights, but not any human rights. The human that they like. If the human that they do not like, they do not give a fuck about him. Like they do not like the Tate's brothers, and they do not like what he says. He's hurting them. They do not like him. That's why the human rights that they fuck our
Well,
mind with
yeah,
does
yeah,
not
I
apply to
agree.
him.
If Andrew Tate was a liberal left lesbian woman,
With a blue hair like Destiny.
he would be out.
That's right. That's right. Okay, the last point here that we're gonna talk about, which is the webcam legality, because everybody's throwing this. Oh, webcam girl, sex trafficking. Webcam girl, sex trafficking. I know that webcam girls is legal in the most of the world. That's what they are making billions. They are making billions. Like in 2015, I did that research for my podcast like 3 days ago. In 2015, these type of businesses, and it's not big as now, they gained $97 billion of profit in 1 year. So can it be not legal and you can pay it by Visa, MasterCard? It is very legal. So why people is throwing that left and right about, oh, he had this cam girls and he gained a lot of money and this is illegal, this is crime. Can you
So
eliminate this?
the reason why people are saying that is because they confuse legality with ethics or
Morality.
morality, and the issue. But even then, they basically change it based on what they want. So, from a Islamic or monotheistic paradigm, right, uh, and from certain Eastern cultures as well, it's considered unethical and immoral. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's haram.
in my paradigm, it's completely unacceptable, right?
Yeah.
But in the Western liberal paradigm, this is
Mhm.
fully halal. It's fully acceptable, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically something they partake in. It's something they enjoy, and we know there's the books that are wide selling are in these types of behaviors. For example, 50 Shades of Grey is one of the biggest selling books in the West, right?
Yeah. 50 million copy.
Exactly, 50 million copies. Now, in terms of specifically when you ask about the webcam, first of all, Andrew Tate's not being charged for the webcam business, but even then we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. It's actually TikTok and OnlyFans.
Hmm.
So when it comes to all of these endeavors, they're all legal, right? And
Yeah.
Romania is one of the biggest countries which partakes in the webcam business, right? So
Even
that's what
in
the whole
Vice documentary, they had interviews with managers of
yeah,
webcam
in the
girls.
BBC
You
documentary, that's
remember?
right. It was with
Yeah.
21 Studio, I think it was the name. You're quite right.
Hmm.
So let's be clear, like all of this is acceptable in the Western liberal paradigm, but yeah, we don't accept it, and we disagree with it. And the reason we disagree with it is, first of all, it's unethical, it's
Mhm.
immoral, but more than that, it's the exploitation of men. So if you look at it, where it doesn't matter if it's the webcam business, it doesn't matter if it's OnlyFans, it doesn't matter if it's TikTok, Instagram, um, all of these different mediums are used to exploit men. Because what happens is these are largely used by women, and they get men who are unfortunately don't have access to women, right?
Mhm.
And so they out of desperation, they start throwing stupid amounts of money at them. I mean,
Mhm.
on Instagram, I've seen some crazy things on Twitch. So as an example, there was a woman who was selling, she was drinking water and then she was selling that and people were paying, or she was sleeping and people were watching it, just like normal bed, like just sleeping. So
Yeah.
this is the level of desperation that society has caused within men. And then men are then throwing stupid amounts of money. So there is some exploitation of women, but there's a significant amount of exploitation of men. In terms of this entire industry, there is some men who run it,
mm.
and employ these women. So yeah, those men are also partaking in this. But generally speaking, a lot of this is by women, and so this is totally unacceptable.
Yeah, that the top OnlyFan earner, she's a woman, and she's getting around $20 million per month.
You know what it is? I agree with this whole argument about wage gap. Can we equal the wage gap in these fields as well?
Of course not.
We
They're not
should. There
talking
should be a
about
fight for
this
it.
type of wage gap.
If they want equality,
Mm.
let's fight for equal rights in these mediums as well, because it's very much not equal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Elaborating on that, we know, like my basic experience in business development specialty, and I understand from what I studied and I trained people to do that sex sells. Sex sells. So this concept is not a foreign concept. All the West know that sex sells. Even the head of the FIFA says, like, let the football teams wear shorter shorts. Let us get more views. So sex sells in general, and that's not considered a crime in the Western democracy. We can agree that it is haram. We can agree that from Islamic point of view, but the judicial department does not confirm by the Sharia laws. They have their own rules, as you said, in the Western liberal paradigm. This is legal, and the porn industry and all of that in industry whose we call it in the manosphere the simp economy. The simp economy, that they use the weak incels to take their money, to sell them the hope or the delusion of he's interacting with a female that she care about,
I
that
agree.
she care about him. Yeah. So this is the simp economy is very legal and supported in all of the Western democracy. Getting back to the lover boy method, is it illegal? Because people is doing it like 24/7 in the West.
So
I
it's
will
a
marry
mis
you. I'm seeing myself with you, and after the one night stand, he will call her Uber.
it's a misunderstanding what people don't understand how human trafficking works.
Mm,
And it's a misnomer that's used. So when it comes to the lover boy method, on its own, that isn't illegal. Just the
mm.
definition of the lover boy method, because that definition can be applied to a wide ranging aspects of society.
To anyone.
As, exactly as per what you've explained. What makes it is illegal is if you do the lover boy method, right? A, and then you then do human trafficking, which is B, and
Mhm,
A and B together, and you
mm.
meet both conditions,
To
then
connect
you
them.
connect them, and that's when you've partook in that illegal activity.
Mm.
So, as I said, we know they've not met the conditions of human trafficking based on the information we have. So, this entire case, the Loverboy point is irrelevant in this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, like we have around 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Regarding Vice and the BBC documentary and all of this propaganda from the leftist, like liberal mainstream media garbage, does that affect the case legally, or it's just like programming the masses, the general public to hate Tate?
It's a very good question. So
Yeah.
media, as well as social media, should never have any impact on a case, right?
Mm,
That is the basis of any kind of legal system or legal justice. Unfortunately, in this case, it has. So the judge on the numerous occasions has said or referred to things on social media that has then impacted his decision.
okay.
And an example of that is just in this last one where he said that Tate's impact he will have on the public order is concerning. So again, they're taking into consideration the thought of society. They're
Hmm.
taking into consideration what's been said on social media and mainstream media, and then applying it to the case. That is extremely problematic and should not be happening because someone. So, for example, look, recently we had the case of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Hmm.
So a lot of people at one point thought that Johnny Depp was guilty, and so in
Yeah.
the UK he was found guilty. even
Mhm.
though the evidence was much weaker than the United States case, right?
Mm.
And so, but then what happened was when it went to the United States, the public was able to see the trial, and then the public perception changed, and then it went
Mm.
on Johnny Depp's favor,
Okay.
and that then made it where the judiciary then decided, or the jury in this case decided that Johnny Depp was innocent, and it was Amber
Does they
Heard.
have jury in Romania?
As far as I know, for this case, there isn't a jury system.
Okay, that's better because they are regular people. Like that, they can be affected by the social media.
The question is, yeah. I mean, it's a hard one to decide because maybe the judiciary could be affected as well. It's a very good point you make. I'm not sure what's better, to be honest, in this case.
Mm, mm, mm. I believe they are more regular people from the general public, and the general public are emotional. And like I don't trust their judgment. The general public are like mostly emotional, and it is very powerful propaganda machine that's going against Tate. So it affects the masses. You see the interviews in the street. Do you hate Tate? Yes. Why? He's misogynist. Well, what does misogyny mean? I don't know. So they are programmed.
They're programmed by people who are also programmed, and I don't know if it's well, it's definitely intentional, but also lazy journalists. Someone from the New York Post contacted me,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, I'm going to write a story on the self-proclaimed misogynist Andrew Tate."
Mm,
So he asked me a list of questions. I answered them, and then I asked him. I said, "Look, you know this term, self-proclaimed misogynist. What's your source for that?" And he
mhm.
sent me a link to a
Good
BBC
question.
article. Yeah, he sent me a link to a BBC article. I said, "That's not a primary source. Can you send me the primary source?" He
Mhm,
then sent me a link to a podcast. I watched the
mhm,
podcast. The greatest irony is, in that podcast, Andrew Tate says, "I'm not a misogynist. You guys call me a misogynist, but that's because
mhm.
you're brainwashed into thinking that I am. But in reality, I'm not." I
Yeah.
So that demonstrates the first point. Second point is that clip. I put it on YouTube and it was removed immediately. I don't know why. He doesn't say anything bad except say I'm not a misogynist. So just
Mm.
this demonstrates how the mainstream media, the corporate establishment, as well as social media, are doing everything in their power to basically attack this guy without giving him a fair opportunity to give the other side of the story.
Yeah. 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 Appreciate it. Like we're getting back to the we're getting to the end here, guys. We have a super chat from Simo, at 8 Saudi Real. Greeting from Saudi. Enjoying your breakdown. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Simo. Much appreciated. We love Saudi. So yeah, I went to Saudi. Obviously, we've done our normal pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina, but then I went to Dammam and Khyber and enjoyed that as well. So yeah, and that was quite
Yeah.
a while ago. But yeah, it's a lovely, lovely place.
My widest percentage of viewers and followers in the social media from Saudi. It's
Oh,
near
marvelous.
30%. That means around 25,000 people. So
Brilliant.
yeah. Brother Suleiman, I really appreciate it. I appreciate before like you join me on this on this podcast. I appreciate what you are doing with I guess the girl named Samar, who's working with you on the case.
Yeah. Summer, yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate what you are doing, guys. Like you're defending the brother because no because everybody is not doing that. Let's say everybody leave him. A lot of people are denying or just like keep silence about this. They are
Well, they're getting
afraid.
forced to, unfortunately, because what's happened is anyone who stands up to support Andrew Tate or support justice or even say
Mm,
innocent until proven guilty, then people are getting attacked. They're getting doxxed. They're losing their livelihood. So people are living in fear. So that's what they've done. They've created this culture of fear where basically you need to
mm.
follow the narrative. If not, your life is destroyed. So only a few people are willing to stand up and speak out before that reason. It's very difficult.
Yeah. I do really appreciate it, guys. I tagged Brother Suleiman YouTube channel. Like, I guess you're planning to grow your channel, right? You
Yeah.
wanna
Please subscribe, like, and join my YouTube channel. I'm planning to
in description.
yeah. I've got a video. I've got a live stream coming tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. UK. It's going to be
Mhm.
about the medical stuff. We covered it briefly in this podcast, but we'll go a lot more detail and depth about it because that's what it's going to be about. And then I've got a number of videos coming out regularly, as well as regular podcasts as well. So yeah, join it and hopefully allow it and help it to grow.
Support the brother, guys. Like the link is in the description. Subscribe for his channel.
Appreciate it.
Support him. Appreciate it, brother Sulaiman. I know
Thank you for
we're
having me,
running
Coach
out of
Green. Much appreciated, and thanks for help. Thanks for having patience with my electronic breakdown. Is I've been they put in a new system for me yesterday, and so as it is with any kind of new system, because I'm not the most technologically gifted person,
yeah.
it takes a bit of work.
That's okay. That's okay, bro. You will get used to it. Like I'm doing
Inshallah.
this since few years. You will be professional.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Appreciate you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.